I reserved a private room, paid in advance, and sent calendar invites for my birthday dinner. No one showed. An hour later, my wife tagged everyone in a family night photo at a steakhouse across town with my kids. I didn't respond. I just posted, "Reminder, I'm the one paying mom's bills and the kids' college fees." The next morning, I canceled all automatic payments. That afternoon, my phone blew up with calls from family, but I didn't answer. It's about the gut-wrenching moment you realize the people you built it for have been tearing it down behind your back. Imagine dedicating your entire life, every sweat-soaked hour, to creating a dream for your family, only to have them casually abandon you on your 50th birthday for the very man who's been sleeping with your wife. Yeah, that's what happened to me, and trust me, when I say I hit back, I didn't just hit. I systematically dismantled their entire comfortable existence. Chapter 1. The cracks in the foundation. My name is Ryan Holloway, and for 45 years, my life was built on sacrifice. I started as a working-class kid from rural Pennsylvania, all calloused hands and big dreams. I clawed my way up, brick by brick, until I owned Holloway Construction, a company that built luxury commercial properties across 3 states. Even as CEO, I was still on job sites, talking to my crews, sometimes even picking up a tool. That was me, hands-on, always building. Melanie, my wife, and I had been married for 23 years. We met in college. She was studying interior design. I was working construction to pay for my business degree. We were broke back then, but we were happy. Then came Amber, now 22, in her final year of an expensive private university, and Noah, 19, just starting his sophomore year at another prestigious college. I paid for all of it. We lived in this sprawling home I designed and partly built myself in the fanciest neighborhood in Lancaster. I took care of Melanie's mom, Sophia, after her husband passed. Melanie drove a luxury SUV. My kids never wanted for anything. But lately, I'd started noticing it, this widening distance. My long hours, building our life, had created a gap, and it felt like someone else was filling it. Family dinners grew quieter, conversations stopping when I walked in. Melanie would shield her phone from my view, calls ending abruptly when I approached. One evening in early October, Melanie asked, without even looking up from her phone, "Working late again tonight, honey?" "Big project in Harrisburg," I replied, "the hospital extension." I studied her face, and it hit me. She looked almost relieved. "Should be home by 9, I said, a test I didn't realize I was setting. "Don't worry about rushing back," she chirped, still glued to her screen. "I'm meeting the girls for dinner anyway." I nodded, kissed her cheek, that practiced politeness of hers, and headed out. What I didn't tell her was that I'd already rescheduled my meeting. I wanted to surprise her with a spontaneous dinner. That night, driving past La Bella Vita, Melanie's favorite Italian restaurant, I saw her through the window. She wasn't with her girls. She was with Damon Walsh, a financial advisor who'd recently joined our country club. His hand rested on hers, their faces close, intimate. A cold, heavy weight settled in my chest. I just drove past. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I started observing, collecting, noting the patterns that had been invisible to me before. I built my business by being methodical, by understanding the terrain before breaking ground. This situation would be no different. The next morning, my assistant, Nora, mentioned, "Your wife called about the donation to Amber's sorority fundraiser. It's $10,000 this year." I nodded, authorizing the transfer. Another check written, another expense paid, another withdrawal from an emotional account that was already overdrawn. That evening, I sat in my home office, looking through old family photos. I studied the gradual changes in their expressions over the years, the slow fading of genuine warmth. I made a silent promise to myself. I would see the full picture, no matter how painful it might be. Chapter 2. The Invisible Man. My 50th birthday was approaching in late October. Despite the growing distance, I decided to make one last effort. I reserved a private room at the Vault, Lancaster's most exclusive restaurant, housed in a renovated historic bank. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. A place that once secured other people's valuables would now host what remained of my most valuable possession, my family. I've booked the vault for my birthday next Saturday, I announced at breakfast on Sunday morning, one of the rare occasions we were all together. Private room. I thought it would be nice for all of us to spend some time together. Melanie glanced up from her phone, a tight smile playing on her lips. That sounds lovely, Ryan. Noah just shrugged. Do I have to dress up? Yes, Melanie and I answered simultaneously. Probably the only thing we'd agreed on in weeks. Amber tapped her coffee cup. I'll check my schedule, Dad. Please do. It's important to me, I replied, watching as my daughter exchanged a quick glance with her mother. Over the next 2 weeks, I paid attention. Melanie's increasing time away from home, the hushed phone conversations, the unexplained shopping bags that never seemed to contain anything for our home. At work, I began reorganizing my financial affairs, meeting with my lawyer, Bennett Woodward, a shrewd attorney who'd been with me since my company's early days. Everything all right, Ryan? Bennett asked after we'd reviewed several documents transferring assets. Just getting my affairs in order, Ben. You know how it is. A man reaches a certain age, starts thinking about legacy. Bennett nodded, but I saw the suspicion in his eyes. He knew me too well. 3 days before my birthday, I paid the reservation in full, an extravagant multi-course meal for 6. Myself, Melanie, Amber, Noah, Sophia, and my younger brother, Lucas, the only family member who'd truly supported me throughout my difficult childhood. I sent calendar invites to everyone. Everyone confirmed. On my birthday morning, I awoke to an empty bed. Melanie had left a generic card on my pillow and a store-bought cake in the fridge. No personal gift, no special breakfast, just a perfunctory acknowledgement. Still, I clung to hope for the evening. I dressed carefully in a tailored navy suit, the one Melanie had once said made me look devastatingly handsome. I arrived early at the vault, confirmed the arrangements, and settled in to wait. 6 o'clock came, then 6:30. At 6:45, I called Melanie. No answer. I texted Amber and Noah. No response. I called Lucas. Hey, I'm so sorry, Ryan, Lucas answered, genuine regret in his voice. My flight got canceled. I'm still in Denver. Tried calling you earlier, but it went straight to voicemail. At 7, I sat alone in that private dining room. The staff hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to start serving. Would you like some wine while you wait, Mr. Holloway? The server asked. Yes, thank you, I replied, my voice steady, my composure intact. The Cabernet, please. At 7:30, my phone buzzed. My heart lifted for a moment, thinking it was a message explaining the delay. Instead, it was a social media alert. Melanie had tagged a new post, family night with my favorites. The photo showed Melanie, Amber, Noah, Sophia, and my jaw tightened, Damon Walsh, all smiling around a table at the Capitol Grill, an upscale steakhouse on the other side of town. I stared at the image, every detail burning into my mind. Amber wore the diamond earrings I'd given her for her 20th birthday. Noah had on the watch I'd handed down when he graduated high school. Sophia wore the pearl necklace I'd bought her after her husband died. And Melanie. Melanie was wearing a new dress I'd never seen, leaning slightly toward Damon, who had his arm casually draped on the back of her chair. The server returned with my wine. Should we perhaps start with some appetizers while you wait, sir? I looked up from my phone, my expression unreadable. No need. It appears my guests won't be joining me tonight. I took a slow sip of the wine. I'll have dinner alone. As I ate my solitary meal, I composed a brief social media post of my own. Reminder, I'm the one who pays mom's bills and kids' college fees. I hit post, then silenced my phone, placing it face down on the table. I ate methodically, savoring each bite of the premium steak, each sip of the $300 bottle of wine. As I finished, I made another decision. This betrayal would not stand unanswered. Chapter 3. The first move. The morning after my birthday, I rose before dawn. I sat in my home office, surrounded by family photographs that now seemed like artifacts from a stranger's life. One by one, I methodically canceled every automatic payment from my accounts: Sophia's assisted living facility, Amber's sorority dues and apartment rent, Noah's tuition installment plan and meal card, Melanie's personal credit cards. the country club membership, the landscaping service for our home, and dozens of other expenses I had silently maintained for years. Next, I called my company's HR department. "Nancy, I need you to remove Melanie from my health insurance today. Private family matter." My tone left no room for questions. "And please cancel the company platinum cards issued to her and my children immediately." I worked through the morning, systematically dismantling the financial scaffolding that had supported my family's comfortable lifestyle. By noon, I had transferred significant sums to new accounts accessible only to me and applied a temporary freeze on several family investment accounts pending resolution of discrepancies. When I finished, I drove to Lucas's house, which stood empty while he was still stranded in Denver. I packed a bag with essentials, left my family vehicle in the garage, and took Lucas's spare truck back to my office. At 3 p.m., precisely when the banks closed for the day, my phone began to ring. First Melanie, then Sophia, then Amber, then Noah. Text messages flooded in, ranging from confused to demanding to panicked. "Melanie, Ryan, what's going on with the accounts? Call me ASAP." Sophia, "Ryan, dear, the facility manager says my payment was declined. There must be some mistake." Amber, "Dad, my rent payment bounced. My landlord is freaking out." Noah, "WTF, Dad? The bursar's office just called me. They're threatening to drop my classes." I read each message without responding. At 5 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number. I answered. "Ryan, it's Damon Walsh. Look, I think we need to talk man-to-man about what's happening." My voice was perfectly controlled. "I believe you forfeited the right to man-to-man conversations when you chose to spend my birthday with my wife and children. That was an unfortunate coincidence." "No," I interrupted. "A coincidence is running into someone unexpectedly. What happened yesterday was a deliberate choice by all involved. Goodbye, Damon." I ended the call and turned off my phone. I had built my empire by understanding timing and leverage. Now, I would use both to dismantle the illusions my family had constructed. That evening, sitting in Lucas's living room, I penned 3 letters by hand. One to Amber, one to Noah, and one to Melanie. I would not write to Sophia. She had raised a daughter who thought betrayal was acceptable, and I had nothing more to say to her. In each letter, I outlined exactly what I knew when I had discovered it and what would happen next. The letters were not angry or vindictive. They were precise, detailed, and final. I sealed each in an envelope and placed them in my briefcase. As night fell, I opened my laptop and began the next phase of my plan. By morning, my family would understand the consequences of taking for granted the man who had built everything they enjoyed. Chapter 4. Boundaries drawn. At precisely 9 a.m. the morning after cutting off financial support, I walked into Bennett Woodward's law office. The 3 sealed letters were in my briefcase. The receptionist, recognizing one of the firm's most valuable clients, immediately ushered me into Bennett's private office. "You look like hell," Bennett observed, gesturing for me to sit. "I've had better weeks," I agreed, my voice steady despite the dark circles under my eyes. "I need your help with some urgent matters." Over the next hour, I laid out the situation: Melanie's affair with Damon Walsh, my family's absence at my birthday dinner, and the financial steps I had already taken. Bennett took careful notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions, but offering no judgment. "What exactly do you want to do here, Ryan?" Bennett finally asked. "I want what's fair," I replied. "I built my company from nothing. I've provided an exceptional lifestyle for my family. I want to ensure that whatever happens next, my legacy remains intact and in the hands of those who actually value it." Bennett nodded. "Let me be direct. Are you looking for reconciliation or separation?" My expression hardened. "There's nothing to reconcile. I'm not interested in saving a marriage where I'm clearly unwanted. What I want is to establish clear boundaries, financial, legal, and personal." As we discussed strategy, my phone continued to vibrate with incoming calls and messages. I checked it once to confirm none were from Lucas, then returned it to my pocket unanswered. "They'll try to contact you next," I told Bennett. "When they do, give them this information." I passed Bennett a folder containing terms for what would essentially be a controlled demolition of my marriage. Meanwhile, across town, chaos had erupted at the Holloway residence. Melanie paced the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear as she made her 15th attempt to reach me. Still nothing, she told Damon, who sat uncomfortably at the kitchen island. This is ridiculous. He can't just cut everyone off like this. He's angry about last night, Damon said. Maybe if you apologize. Apologize? Melanie's voice rose. For what? Having dinner with my family? He's always working anyway. How are we supposed to know he'd suddenly want to celebrate his birthday? The doorbell rang, interrupting them. Melanie opened it to find Amber on the doorstep, mascara streaked down her face. Mom, I got evicted, she cried, pushing past Melanie into the house. My landlord changed the locks this morning. He said Dad called him personally and told him to terminate my lease immediately. Before Melanie could respond, her phone rang again. Noah this time. Mom, what the hell is going on? Noah's voice was panicked. The university just revoked my housing assignment. They said all future payments have been canceled and I have to vacate my dorm by tomorrow. As Melanie tried to calm her son, another call came in, the country club, informing her that their membership had been terminated effective immediately and they needed to remove any personal belongings from their lockers by the end of the day. By noon, Sophia arrived, having taken a taxi from her assisted living community after being informed that her residency was in jeopardy due to non-payment. What has gotten into Ryan? Sophia demanded. I've never seen such childish behavior. The family gathered in the living room, a war council trying to make sense of my actions. Damon sat awkwardly at the periphery, unsure of his place in this family crisis. Has anyone actually been able to reach him? Amber asked, scrolling through her phone. No, Melanie admitted. But I called that assistant of his, Nora. She said he hasn't been in the office, and she can't reach him either. This is about last night, isn't it? Noah said, realization dawning. Dad's birthday dinner, the one we all bailed on. A heavy silence fell over the room. It was just dinner, Melanie said defensively. People miss dinners all the time. He's completely overreacting. But it was his 50th birthday, Mom, Amber said quietly, and we all went to dinner with. Her eyes drifted to Damon, then quickly away. Melanie's phone rang again. This time, it was Bennett Woodward's office, requesting that she come in for an urgent meeting regarding financial and legal matters pertaining to your marriage. Across town, I sat in a coffee shop, watching real-time notifications as my instructions were carried out. I felt no pleasure in the disruption I'd caused. Only a cold determination to dismantle what had already been broken by others' actions. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Just landed. What's this cryptic message about staying at my place? Everything okay? I typed back, I'll explain everything tonight. Thank you for being the one person in my life I can count on. As I put down my phone, I noticed a woman watching me from a nearby table. It took me a moment to recognize Lynn Mercer, a project manager from one of my biggest commercial clients. Ryan, she approached cautiously, I don't mean to intrude, but are you all right? You look troubled. For the first time in days, I felt seen, not as a provider or a bank account, but as a human being. Actually, no, I admitted. I'm not all right at all. Would you like some company? She offered. Sometimes it helps to talk to someone completely uninvolved. I hesitated, then gestured to the chair across from me. I'd appreciate that, Lynn. As I gave her the abbreviated version of recent events, I realized I was speaking to someone who understood ambition and sacrifice. Unlike my family, Lynn asked questions about how I felt rather than what I would do next. What happens now? She asked when I finished. My phone buzzed with a message from Bennett. Melanie just left. Letters delivered as instructed. All parties notified of terms. Now, I said, we see who values the relationship and who only valued the resources. Chapter 5. The full accounting. 3 days after cutting off financial support, I finally agreed to a family meeting. I chose neutral territory, a conference room at Bennett's law office, and I stipulated that Damon Walsh was not to attend. When I arrived, Bennett was waiting outside the room. They're all in there, Bennett said quietly. And they're not happy. I didn't expect them to be, I replied. Inside, Melanie, Amber, Noah, and Sophia sat around a large conference table, their expressions ranging from anger to anxiety. I took a seat at the head of the table, Bennett beside me. "Thank you for coming," I began, my voice businesslike. "I've asked Mr. Woodward to facilitate this meeting to ensure everything is properly documented." "This is ridiculous, Ryan," Melanie interrupted. "You can't just cut us all off without warning. We have bills, responsibilities." "Yes, we all have responsibilities," I agreed, my tone measured. "Like the responsibility to honor commitments, to show basic respect to family members, to be honest about how we spend our time and with whom." I opened a folder and removed several documents. "Before we discuss anything else, I want to establish some facts. Fact 1. I have provided financial support for this family for over 20 years without complaint. Fact 2. I have never missed a payment for anything any of you have needed or wanted. Fact 3. I have never asked for anything in return except basic consideration." I looked directly at each family member. "And yet, not one of you could give me even that much on my 50th birthday." "Dad, we're sorry about your birthday," Amber said, her voice small. "We should have been there." "Yes, you should have. Instead, you were at the Capitol Grill with your mothers." I paused, choosing my words carefully. "Friend, Mr. Walsh." Melanie flushed. "Ryan, Damon is just— Please don't insult my intelligence, Melanie," I cut her off. "I know exactly what Damon is. I've known for months." Silence fell over the room as the implication of my words sank in. "Why are we here, Ryan?" Sophia finally asked. "To be punished? To beg?" "You're here because actions have consequences," I replied simply. "And because despite everything, you're still my family." I wanted to explain my decisions to you directly. I distributed copies of a document to each person. "This outlines the new financial arrangements moving forward. I am not completely cutting anyone off. I am, however, establishing clear boundaries." The family members quickly scanned the documents, their expressions changing from hope to dismay. "This is barely anything," Noah protested, looking up from his paper. "My tuition and basic housing, but no spending money, no car allowance?" "You'll receive what you need, not what you want," I clarified. "You can get a part-time job for discretionary expenses, like most college students." "And what about me?" Sophia demanded. "This says you'll only pay for basic assisted living, not the premium suite I'm in now." "That's correct," I nodded. "The standard accommodations are perfectly adequate." The extra amenities were a luxury I provided, not an obligation. "And me?" Melanie asked quietly, scanning her document. "This is practically nothing, Ryan. It's exactly what you'd receive in a divorce settlement according to our prenuptial agreement," I explained. "The house maintenance and utilities will be covered until Amber and Noah finish college. After that, the house will be sold and the proceeds divided according to the prenup." Melanie's face paled. "You're divorcing me." "I'm giving you a choice," I corrected her. Option 1, divorce with the terms outlined in that document. Option 2, remain married with separate finances as outlined, while you decide what you really want from life and this marriage. I turned to my children. "As for you two, I love you. That hasn't changed. But you're adults now, and it's time you understood that relationships require reciprocity. I've dedicated my life to providing for you. I don't think birthday dinner attendance was too much to ask in return." Amber began to cry. Noah stared at the table. "This meeting is not a negotiation," I continued. "These are the new terms. You can accept them or you can choose to make your own way entirely. Either way, the old arrangement is over." "And if we refuse?" Melanie challenged, her voice tight. "Then you'll receive nothing beyond what's legally required," I said simply. "And you'll need to vacate the house within 30 days. As the meeting ended, I stood to leave. Amber rushed to me, tears streaming down her face. "Dad, please," she begged. "I'm so sorry about your birthday. We all are. Can't we fix this?" I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw genuine remorse in her eyes. "I hope so, Amber," I said softly. "But fixing takes more than words. It takes actions that demonstrate true change." As I walked out, Melanie called after me. "This isn't over, Ryan." I turned back briefly. "You're right about that, Melanie. It's just beginning." Outside, Lucas was waiting by my car. "How'd it go in there?" Lucas asked. "About as expected," I replied. They're angry, confused, entitled. They still don't really understand what they've done. Lucas nodded thoughtfully. And what about you? Are you okay? For the first time since my birthday, I felt something other than cold determination, a flicker of genuine emotion. No, I admitted. But I will be. As we drove away, my phone buzzed with a message from Lynn. Thinking of you today. Hope the meeting went as well as it could. A small smile touched my lips as I typed back, it did. Thank you for caring enough to check. Chapter 6. The revelation 2 weeks after that family meeting, the situation had evolved in unexpected ways. Melanie had moved into the guest room and was barely speaking to me, though I had returned to the house, spending minimal time there. Noah had gotten a job at the university library and was calling home less frequently. Sophia had grudgingly adjusted to her new living arrangement. And Amber. Amber had surprised everyone. The morning after the meeting, Amber had appeared at my office without an appointment. Dad, can we talk? She'd asked hesitantly. Just us. Over lunch, Amber had been brutally honest. Mom's been seeing Damon for over a year, she confessed. She told me and Noah it was nothing serious at first, just a friendship. Then she started including him in family things when you weren't around. I listened silently as Amber explained how Melanie had gradually normalized Damon's presence, making him seem like part of our extended family circle. The birthday dinner, that was Mom's idea, Amber continued. She said, you probably wouldn't notice anyway since you're always working. I knew it was wrong, Dad. I did, but I went along with it. Why are you telling me this now? I had asked. Amber's eyes had welled with tears. Because I don't like who I'm becoming, and because, she hesitated, I found something you should see. She pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages from Melanie to Damon, discussing how they would transition the family after I finally got the message that he wasn't wanted anymore. They've been planning to push you out, Amber explained. Mom said once you left, Damon would help manage all the financial stuff, and everything would be better because he actually wants to be part of the family. That revelation had shifted something fundamental in me. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was strategic and calculating. Now, 2 weeks later, I sat in my office reviewing documents with Bennett and a forensic accountant named Philip Harris. So, you see the pattern, Philip explained, pointing to highlighted transactions. Small amounts regularly diverted from joint accounts to this numbered account, which we've confirmed belongs to Miss Holloway. Over the past 18 months, she's accumulated nearly $300,000. I nodded, unsurprised after Amber's revelation. And we can prove this was done without my knowledge or consent? Absolutely, Philip confirmed. The transfers were always made when you were traveling for business, using a separate device that accessed your accounts through saved passwords. Bennett leaned forward. Ryan, this changes the divorce equation significantly. This is financial fraud, plain and simple. I don't want to press charges, I said firmly. But I do want leverage. What are you thinking? Bennett asked. I'm thinking it's time for the next phase, I replied. I've been reactive so far. Now I need to be proactive. That evening, I invited Lynn to dinner. Over the past 2 weeks, we had developed a friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. Lynn knew about my situation and had become a valuable sounding board. You seem different tonight, Lynn observed as we shared a bottle of wine, more resolved. I am, I admitted. I've been so focused on what I've lost that I haven't considered what I might gain from all this. Like what? Freedom. Clarity. The chance to rebuild with people who actually value me. Lynn smiled. That sounds healthy. So, what's your next move? I took a sip of wine. I'm going to offer Melanie exactly what she wants, a clean break, but on my terms, not hers. Later that night, I returned home to find Melanie waiting in the living room. From her expression, I knew immediately that something had changed. We need to talk, she said, her tone conciliatory for the first time in weeks. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I want to try to fix our marriage, Ryan. I studied her face, noting the calculation behind her newfound remorse. That's interesting timing, Melanie. May I ask what prompted this change of heart? Melanie shifted uncomfortably. I realized how much our family needs you, how much I need you. Interesting, I said calmly. Does your epiphany have anything to do with Damon Walsh's sudden financial problems? Melanie's eyes widened slightly. What are you talking about? Oh, you haven't heard? I asked, feigning surprise. Damon's investment firm is under investigation by the SEC. All his assets have been frozen. It was announced this afternoon. The color drained from Melanie's face. I didn't know. I'm sure you didn't, I agreed. Just like I'm sure your sudden interest in reconciliation has nothing to do with discovering your backup plan is no longer viable. Ryan, that's not fair. Let me tell you what's not fair, Melanie, I interrupted, my voice still remarkably calm. Planning to push your husband out of his own family so you can replace him with someone you find more exciting. Stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from joint accounts? Using your children as pawns in your game. Melanie froze. What are you talking about? I never stole. Please, I cut her off again. The forensic accountant has documented every transfer. Every single one, Melanie. For a long moment, we stared at each other across the living room. Then Melanie's expression hardened. What do you want, Ryan? I want what I've always wanted, honesty. So, here's my offer. I won't press charges for the financial fraud if you agree to my divorce terms without contest. You'll get exactly what the prenup stipulates. No more, no less. And if I don't agree? Then I'll see you in court where we can discuss those transfers in detail, I replied simply. Your choice. As Melanie stormed out of the room, my phone buzzed with a message from Amber. Just checking in. You okay, Dad? I smiled slightly as I typed back, getting better every day. Thank you for telling me the truth. For the first time in months, I felt like I was building something new rather than watching something old crumble away. Chapter 7. New foundations. 1 month after confronting Melanie about the financial fraud, my life had undergone a dramatic transformation. I had moved permanently into a penthouse apartment in the city, closer to my company headquarters. Melanie had reluctantly signed the divorce papers after her attorney confirmed that fighting my terms would likely result in worse outcomes for her. The divorce was now in process, proceeding exactly as I had planned. Noah had surprised everyone by transferring to a state school with a better program. In his actual field of interest, engineering rather than business, and had asked me to help him apply for scholarships rather than simply paying his way. I want to earn it, Dad, he'd explained during one of our weekly dinners. I don't want to be handed everything anymore. Sophia had adjusted to her new living arrangement and had grudgingly acknowledged that the standard accommodations were adequate, though she remained coolly distant toward me. Amber had perhaps changed the most. After revealing Melanie's schemes to me, she had moved out of her university apartment and into a modest studio that she paid for with her new part-time job at an interior design firm. She was finishing her degree while getting real-world experience, and her relationship with me had evolved into something more adult and equal. The only person not adapting well was Melanie. With the divorce proceeding and Damon Walsh now under investigation and unable to access his assets, she found herself increasingly isolated. Her social circle at the country club had quietly distanced themselves once the details of her behavior began to circulate. Her attempts to reconcile with me, clearly motivated by financial concerns rather than genuine remorse, had been firmly rebuffed. On a crisp November morning, I sat in my office reviewing the latest designs for a major new project when Nora announced an unexpected visitor. Mr. Walsh is here to see you, she said, her disapproval evident in her tone. Shall I send him away? I considered for a moment. No, I'll speak with him. Give me 5 minutes, then show him in. When Damon entered, he looked markedly different from the confident, polished man who had been photographed with my family at the Capitol Grill. His expensive suit appeared slightly rumpled, his face drawn with stress. Thank you for seeing me, Ryan, Damon began, remaining standing when I didn't offer him a seat. What can I do for you, Damon? I asked, my tone neutral, but not friendly. I wanted to speak with you man-to-man, Damon said, unconsciously echoing his words from our brief phone conversation weeks earlier, about Melanie, about the situation with the SEC. Let me stop you there, I interrupted. My divorce from Melanie is proceeding as agreed. Your relationship with her is no longer my concern. As for your SEC troubles, I fail to see how that involves me. Damon's expression tightened. I think you know exactly how it involves you. The SEC investigation began one day after your meeting with Melanie at your lawyer's office. That's not a coincidence. I leaned back in my chair. Are you accusing me of something, Damon? I'm saying that someone gave the SEC very specific information about certain transactions my firm handled. Information that only someone with insider knowledge would have. That sounds serious, I commented mildly. Perhaps you should focus on addressing those allegations rather than pursuing a relationship with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Damon stepped closer to my desk, his voice dropping. I know you did this. You couldn't stand that Melanie chose me, so you're trying to destroy me professionally. I stood slowly, my height advantage making Damon step back involuntarily. First, I didn't do anything except ensure that relevant authorities had accurate information. If you conducted your business ethically, you have nothing to worry about. Second, Melanie didn't choose you. She tried to keep both of us, enjoying my financial support while getting emotional validation from you. I moved around the desk until I was standing directly in front of Damon. And third, if I wanted to destroy you, Damon, you wouldn't be standing here making accusations. You'd already be finished. The quiet certainty in my voice made Damon pale slightly. Is that a threat? Damon asked, his voice less confident now. Not at all, I replied. It's simply a fact. Now, was there anything else you needed? Damon hesitated, then turned to leave. At the door, he paused. She really did love you once, you know. Before you became all about the business, all about the money. My expression didn't change. That may be true, but respect matters more than love in the long run. And she never respected me, just like she'll never respect you. Good luck with the SEC, Damon. I hear they're very thorough. After Damon left, I canceled my remaining meetings and drove to a construction site on the outskirts of town. One of my company's newest projects, a community center being built in a neighborhood that was working to revitalize itself after years of neglect. As I walked the site, greeting workers by name and inspecting the progress, I felt a sense of purpose that had been missing for too long. I had built my company the same way I built my buildings, methodically, with attention to detail and a focus on creating something that would last. I had applied the same principles to dismantling my broken marriage and rebuilding my relationships with my children. My phone buzzed with a message from Lynn. Still on for dinner tonight? I have news about the hospital project. I smiled as I replied, absolutely, looking forward to it. As I looked around at the half-finished community center, I realized I was no longer angry. The cold determination that had driven me since my birthday had transformed into something more constructive. A clear vision of the future I wanted to build, with people who valued me for who I was, not what I provided. Chapter 8. The unexpected turn. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, my new life had begun to take shape. My relationship with Lynn had evolved from friendship to something deeper, built on mutual respect and genuine connection. My company was thriving, with several major new projects. My relationships with Noah and Amber continued to strengthen as they established new, healthier dynamics. Melanie, meanwhile, had been forced to downsize significantly. The divorce settlement provided only what the prenup specified, and Damon Walsh's legal troubles were mounting. She had sold many of her luxury possessions and moved into a modest condo. She had also, somewhat surprisingly, started taking interior design jobs again, something she hadn't done since before Amber was born. On a snowy December afternoon, I was reviewing year-end financial reports when Nora announced another unexpected visitor. Sophia Cooper is here to see you, she said. She doesn't have an appointment. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. I hadn't spoken to my former mother-in-law in months. Send her in, please. Sophia entered tentatively, looking smaller and older than I remembered. She declined my offer of a seat. I won't take much of your time, she began, her voice lacking its usual imperious tone. There are things I need to say to you. I gestured for her to continue. I was wrong about you, Sophia said simply. I encouraged Melanie too. She paused, searching for words. I encouraged her to explore her options with Damon. I told her she deserved someone more attentive, more present. I see, I replied neutrally. No, you don't. Sophia shook her head. I've watched my daughter destroy her marriage, damage her relationship with her children, and lose the life she had. All because I reinforced her worst instincts. And now I'm seeing the consequences. She finally sat down, seeming to deflate. Melanie is unhappy. Damon is facing criminal charges. And you? She looked at me directly. You're flourishing. You've rebuilt everything while treating your children with more generosity than most men would have shown after. Such betrayal. What exactly are you here for, Sophia? I asked, genuinely curious. To apologize, she said simply. And to ask if there's any way you might consider helping Melanie one more time. Not financially, she added quickly, seeing my expression harden. She needs to stand on her own now, but she's struggling to get her design business re-established. A recommendation from you to some of your business contacts would mean a great deal. I studied the older woman's face, searching for manipulation, but finding only genuine concern and regret. I'll consider it, I finally said. Not for Melanie's sake, but for Amber and Noah. They shouldn't have to worry about their mother's financial stability while they're building their own lives. Sophia nodded gratefully. That's more than fair. She stood to leave, then hesitated. There's one more thing you should know. Damon's legal troubles, they're worse than what's been reported. He used some of the money Melanie took from your accounts to make investments that are now under scrutiny. My expression didn't change. I'm aware of that. My forensic accountant tracked every dollar. Of course, he did. Sophia smiled faintly. You always were thorough. After she left, I sat thinking about Sophia's visit. It represented something I hadn't expected, accountability from someone who had contributed to the destruction of my marriage. The apology didn't change the past, but it did provide a certain closure. That evening, as Lynn and I prepared dinner together in my penthouse apartment, I told her about Sophia's visit. Are you going to help Melanie? Lynn asked, her tone curious rather than judgmental. I'm going to help my children by ensuring their mother can support herself, I clarified. I'll make a few calls, but that's it. Lynn studied my face. You've changed since I first met you in that coffee shop. You're lighter somehow. I considered this. I've let go of things I didn't realize were weighing me down. Expectations, assumptions about what my life should look like. The need to provide everything for people who appreciated nothing. And how does that feel? Lynn asked, genuinely interested. Like freedom, I admitted. Like I can finally build something real. Later that night, after Lynn had gone home, I received a text from Lucas. Just heard through the grapevine that Damon Walsh was arrested today. Federal charges related to securities fraud. Thought you should know. I didn't respond immediately. The news didn't bring the satisfaction I might have expected months ago. Instead, it felt like the closing of a chapter, one I was ready to move beyond. My phone buzzed again with a message from Amber. Dad, have you heard about Damon? Mom's a mess. Noah and I are with her now. We're worried about her state of mind. This message did require a response. I've heard. Is she safe? Yes, but really upset. She keeps saying everything is her fault. I sighed, then made a decision that surprised even myself. Tell her I'll make those calls to help with her design business. But that's the extent of my involvement. You and Noah are doing the right thing being there for her. Amber replied quickly. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot. Love you. Love you, too, I typed back, realizing with some surprise that it was true. Despite everything, I still loved my children. I wouldn't allow their mother's actions to destroy that connection, though I would never again allow it to be taken for granted. The next morning, I made 3 brief calls to business associates who might be able to use Melanie's interior design services. I was cordial but clear. This was a professional courtesy based on her qualifications, not a personal endorsement. As I finished the last call, I realized something important. My actions were no longer driven by anger or revenge. I was making choices based on what I wanted to build, not what I wanted to destroy. The distinction felt significant, a marker of how far I had come since that lonely birthday dinner. Chapter 9. The final boundary. 6 months after the divorce, I stood in the backyard of my former home, watching as a real estate agent placed a sold sign next to the for sale one. The house had sold for well above asking price, a testament to both the strong market and the property's appeal. As stipulated in the divorce agreement, the proceeds would be divided according to the prenuptial agreement, with Melanie receiving enough to establish herself comfortably but not extravagantly. Dad. Amber called, emerging from the house with a box labeled Family Photos. I found these in the attic. I thought you might want them. I accepted the box, a small smile playing at my lips. Thanks, sweetheart. Anything worth keeping in here? I don't know, Amber admitted. I didn't look through them all, but I thought, well, not everything from before was bad, right? I nodded thoughtfully. No, not everything. Noah appeared next, carrying several framed certificates and awards. These are yours, Dad. From the community service projects and industry recognition. Mom said to make sure you got them. The mention of Melanie hung in the air for a moment. Though she wasn't present for the final walkthrough, having elected to have her lawyer handle her portion of the proceedings, her presence was still felt in the house we had shared for so many years. How is she doing? I asked, surprising both my children with the question. Amber and Noah exchanged glances. She's adjusting, Noah offered carefully. The design business is picking up. Those referrals you made really helped. She's seeing a therapist, Amber added. And she stopped blaming everyone else for what happened. That's progress, I guess, I nodded, but didn't comment further. My children's relationship with their mother was their own to navigate. I would neither interfere nor encourage it. As the three of us walked through the empty house one last time, memories surfaced in each room. Christmas mornings in the living room, family dinners in the kitchen, homework sessions at the dining room table. Not all the memories were tainted by what came later. In the master bedroom, I paused, remembering both good times and bad. This was where my marriage had slowly died, where Melanie had pulled away from me long before Damon Walsh entered the picture. You okay, Dad? Noah asked, noticing my expression. Yes, I said simply. Just remembering. Outside, as we prepared to leave the property for the final time, my phone rang. It was Bennett. Good news, his lawyer said without preamble. The judge approved the final distribution of assets exactly as we requested. Everything is official now. Thank you, Bennett, I replied. For everything. After hanging up, I turned to my children. That's it then. The house sale will close on Tuesday, and the last financial ties will be severed. What about us? Amber asked quietly. The family ties? I placed a hand on my daughter's shoulder. Those are different. Those are chosen, not legally mandated. You and Noah will always be my children, and I'll always be your father. That hasn't changed. And Mom? Noah asked hesitantly. My expression turned serious. Your mother made her choices, and I made mine in response. I don't wish her ill, but there are boundaries now that will never be crossed. Again. She's no longer my concern except as your mother. The clear finality in my tone left no room for misinterpretation. Ryan Holloway had rebuilt his life on his own terms. He had shown mercy where he chose to, helping Melanie establish her business, ensuring Sophia's basic needs were met, supporting his children unconditionally. But he had never wavered on the fundamental boundary. Those who had betrayed him most deeply would never again be welcomed into his inner circle. Later that evening, at a celebration dinner with Lynn, Lucas, and several close friends, I raised a glass and a toast. To endings that make new beginnings possible, I said, my eyes meeting Lynn's briefly. And to building on solid foundations, Lynn added, returning my gaze with equal meaning. As conversations flowed around me, I reflected on the journey of the past year. From that solitary birthday dinner to this moment, surrounded by people who genuinely valued me, I had traversed a landscape of betrayal, anger, calculation, and, finally, reconstruction. My phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Melanie, the first direct communication she had initiated in months. The lawyer says the house closing is Tuesday. I want to thank you for the business referrals. I know you didn't have to do that. I read the message twice, considering whether to respond. Finally, I typed, I did it for Amber and Noah, not for you. I wish you well in your new life, Melanie, but we have nothing more to discuss. I sent the message, then silenced my phone and returned it to my pocket. The boundary was clear and would remain so. Unlike the structures I built for my business, some things, once broken, could never be rebuilt, nor should they be. Everything okay? Lynn asked, noticing my momentary distraction. I smiled genuinely and without reservation. Yes, I said simply. Everything is exactly as it should be. And it was. I had emerged from betrayal, not just intact, but stronger, clearer about my values and my worth. I had shown my children that boundaries matter, that self-respect is non-negotiable, and that while forgiveness might be possible, forgetting never is. I had built my life once. I had rebuilt it again. And this time, I had built it with people who understood that relationships, like buildings, require solid foundations, regular maintenance, and mutual investment to stand the test of time. The man who had once sat alone on his 50th birthday was gone. In his place stood someone who no longer measured his worth by what he provided to others, but by the quality of the connections he chose to maintain and the integrity with which he lived his life. It wasn't the ending he had once envisioned for himself. It was better.